Nowhere in all the tens of thousands of hieroglyphs found throughout ancient Egypt, not one single one of them shows anything about them cutting stone, nor does it show anything depicting the construction of a pyramid. The Egyptians are said to be a Bronze Age culture, which means that's supposed to be the most sophisticated type of tooling that they had. However, when modern tests have been done, it's failed miserably. You can technically cut these things in half, but it takes a tremendous amount of time. If they were said to be tombs for the pharaohs, they were all said to be done in a chronological order and within a certain period of time. And I'm like, when you're talking tens of millions of stone blocks in aggregate, and then doesn't include all the other tens of millions of blocks that make up statues, casing stones, when you're doing it with methods that can barely get in more than an inch an hour, so slow, and so it's like, it's a mystery.
The ancient Egyptians were masters of proportion, but the head of the Sphinx is way too small in relation to the body. It doesn't fit with that 270-foot long, 70-foot high body. They wouldn't make that elementary error when they create this giant statue. We all feel that the Sphinx was almost certainly a complete lion at one point. It was a lion with a huge mane, and that head sticking up above the plateau got very heavily eroded, and by the time the ancient Egyptians inherited it, they decided to improve it a little bit, to cut down that heavily eroded head and put the head of a pharaoh on it.
On every pyramid, we found mushroom hieroglyphics, every one of them. This is the goddess Hathor at the Dendera temple. That's the vase there with these mushroom-like figures coming out. And that is a taxonomically correct drawing of Psilocybe cubensis. And the lower part is the blue lotus, a water lily associated with a mushroom. I mean, there's dozens of these images. Look at that one on the left. The cuspidate cap, the shape of this.
What did they try to say that is?
They said they didn't know what it was.
How do they not know what it is? Have you ever seen the image of the eye of Horus next to the pineal gland? The pineal gland is it's a gland that's in the center of your brain. It's essentially the third eye. In reptiles, it actually has a retina and a lens, seat of the soul, where the brain produces dimethyltryptamine. And they believe that the Egyptians, they knew things, and we don't know what they knew, but look at that. It's a diagram of the pineal gland. It's kind of crazy when you see it that way.
This new pyramid shit that's just come out?
Oh, this is insane. Through the use of LiDAR, they have discovered that there are enormous structures underneath the Great Pyramid that go kilometers deep into the earth.
600 meters descending down those cylinders, and then there's more stuff below it, and then there's additional structures inside of it.
There are huge structures coming down from the base of the pyramid deep into the bedrock, over 600 meters deep, which then connects to structures that extend up to 2 kilometers below the surface of the ground. Massive internal structures connected to the base of the pyramid and extending deep down.
The Great Pyramid is literally impossible. It's something that doesn't make any sense. It certainly doesn't make sense as the tomb of a megalomaniac pharaoh. I resist these names that archaeologists have applied to the Great Pyramid. I resist the notion that it was the tomb of Khufu. I resist the notion that the subterranean chamber, which is 100 feet vertically beneath the base of the Great Pyramid, was intended to be Khufu's tomb chamber, but then they just changed their minds and abandoned it. And then they built the one that's now called the Queen's Chamber. That was intended to be for Khufu, but they abandoned that as well. Then they went up the Grand Gallery and they created the so-called King's Chamber. And because it has a sarcophagus in it, and for no other reason, that is said to have been the original burial place of Khufu. It's not enough evidence, in my view.
The 3 great pyramids on the ground at Giza replicate the 3 stars of the belt of the constellation of Orion, but that they don't do so precisely in 2500 BC when the pyramids are supposed to have been built. The perfect match is in 10,500. And they're using precession, they're using the language of astronomy and massive architecture to memorialize a particular date. Does that mean that the whole Giza complex was built 12,500 years ago? No. We're looking at a complex that's been developed and increasingly refined over a very, very long period of time.